This week's movie, Who Am I? I am the sole survivor of a workplace incident who, whilst dealing with my PTSD, is contracted by the military to consult on a rather unique outing, which, unbeknownst to me, is a search and recovery mission. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Banana Reel Movie Podcast, episode number 33. Warning, this show contains spoilers and coarse language. You have been forewarned. Folks, we are the Theatre Gorillas. We are your hosts. I am Lee.
And I'm Dan.
This week we have just the two of us. We've got Carlos off sick and Heath overseas enjoying himself on holidays. Before we move too far on, I will say you can contact us or read more about our reviews on theatregorillas.com. You can contact us at Theatre Gorillas on Twitter, on Facebook, facebook.com/theatregorillas. And any feedback to theatregorillas@gmail.com.
And check us out on YouTube too.
Oh, yes. Now we're on YouTube. Yes. Very good. So, news. We've got news.
News. Did you want to kick it off? I think you had something.
No.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Oh, maybe Deadpool. I'm still super excited for Deadpool.
I know, right? Yeah. What is it? It's only, when does it come out? The 11th.
11th or 12th, I think.
Yeah, so next week.
Oh,
well, there you go, guys. Next couple of weeks, no doubt we'll have a review of that gem. Hopefully it's a gem.
Yeah. Everything I've seen so far has been damn good.
I know, right? Yeah. Their marketing team is like on point.
Yeah.
They can do no wrong. But back to more pertinent news, I suppose.
Newer news.
Actually,
stuff that is new.
Yes. So Chris Pratt was tweeting today from the set of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, excellent.
He had his awesome mixtape volume 2 in his Walkman. So I think he's as excited to be in it and to be filming a second one as the fans are to actually see the movie when it comes out, which is great to see,
Absolutely. When is this one due?
I'm not even sure, actually. I'd say it'd probably be well into next year, given that they're only filming now.
Yeah, I've got a picture of it. I'll just look up while we continue. But yeah, So Guardians of the Galaxy, you had, what else are you saying before? We're talking about Wolverine?
Yeah. So the next Wolverine movie, which oddly is going to be called apparently Wolverine 3.
Yes.
So I was just reading online. They said it's the sequel to The Wolverine and Days of Future Past. So I don't know how they're getting the 3 out of that, unless they count X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah. No, that's their storyline is not as well thought out as all of the rest of the Marvel Universe, which is done under Disney, isn't it?
No. Yeah. Oh, that's right, because it's still Sony with the X-Men, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think that's, right. They've been doing their own thing, seen the success of this, and they've tried to start off a longer running script, but having to piece together some old movies that were really written as one-offs.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of that, the X-Men Chronicles were sort of self-contained stories, weren't they? Like the arc of the first trilogy, it finished that story.
That really fucking finished. And they had to weave in some time travel bullshit to try and resurrect it, didn't they?
Yeah, to try and legitimize the fact that, they're still going after that. So
they fucked everybody off.
Yeah. But they have come out and said also, I'm assuming it was Sony, that they won't be recasting Wolverine once Jackman does his last hurrah. Yeah,
wow. I mean, he has been quite iconic, but you'd think, I don't know, he's too big a character to let go.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of like Batman, like it's okay every sort of few years to recast and do it.
Or James Bond. James Bond, they don't even care. They reuse the same storyline.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, to hell with continuity there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe they'll change their mind in 5 years' time and be like, all right, we need to reboot the X-Men once again.
Yeah. Oh, if they keep using the franchise, do they retain the rights to it? Or is there an expiry to when they've got it?
I'd say it's probably one of those deals like with Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
That was the reason
as long as they keep using it.
Yeah. Which historically has resulted in some terrible, terrible movies. There was one in, I think it was the late 80s, early 90s. It was for the same reason, Fantastic Four. Technically the first movie of the franchise. Yeah. It was horrible. It was like the Incredible Hulk TV series, but even lower budget.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that was incredible.
Yeah.
The costumes.
Yes.
Special effects have come so far. Direct to VHS or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
yeah. But yeah, so that was purely to retain the rights. So yeah, presumably Sony will be doing a similar thing for many years to come.
Yeah. All right. I can't find the list of dates I had, but yeah.
So I'm thinking next year sometime it's got to be at least.
It's got to at least, yeah, because they've only just started filming.
Yeah. Well, given that the turnaround now for Star Wars Episode 8 is going to be, about 17 months? Because they started filming...
At about the same time.
Yeah, they started filming a couple of weeks ago and they had to push it back till May 2017.
Yeah.
So you're looking about 17 months. So I'd say probably around the same time for Guardians.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that's all we got this week for news.
Yep.
So this week's movie is Wyrmwood.
Road of the Dead.
Yes. So this was an Australian movie. I've heard about it when it came out, but then it was for not the best of reasons.
Right, yeah.
It
Were
was
you talking about the controversy around...
It was the most ripped movie of a long period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guys came out saying, we are happy that you all enjoy our movie. Can you please pay us?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need money. Yeah,
otherwise we're not going to be able to produce another one.
Yeah, that's it. I think they even said that, they hadn't earned enough money yet to pay some of the actors. So
Jesus.
Yeah. But there's an interesting side note to that. The distribution, to put it lightly, was all fucked up.
Yeah.
So at the moment in Australia, the only ways you can get it legally is to buy it on DVD or Blu-ray.
Yep.
Buy it on iTunes, so rent it for $15.
Yep.
Or it's on Presto.
Yep.
It's on US Netflix.
Yes.
And
that's where I watched it.
Yeah, and a few other places. But it just seemed really odd that for an Australian movie, produced in cooperation with Screen Australia, mind you,
Yep.
it wasn't easy to find here.
Yep. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it came out at the end of 2014, so obviously now they've got to a point where it's sort of seen wide release. They're actually it's going to be showing in Japanese cinemas soon.
Oh, so wasn't ever a cinema here?
I think there was limited runs. Yeah.
Damn. Screen Australia needs to see if they can sort of push the boundary a bit and get all this cinema out there. If they're sponsoring it, it needs to try and get into a wide release.
Yeah, definitely.
But in terms of the story itself, it follows Barry, a talented mechanic, and a family man whose life is torn apart on the eve of a zombie apocalypse. Carlos left a review as well, if we want to get into that maybe at the end.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. We'll see what he had to think once we've aired our own grievances or enjoyments.
Where do you want to start with it?
Well, one thing I did want to note was, so I sort of watched it on the train to and from work today, because I've got an hour and a half commute either way. It's perfect to watch a movie. I watched the first 40 minutes or so on the way into work. And I was like, all right, cool. This is a really neat,
where did that 40 minutes stop you?
So that was right before they lit the breath of the zombie on fire.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you were in the warm-up.
Yeah. So up until that point, I'm like, all right, this might be a badass Australian horror movie. Like it's really serious. It's got these dark undertones.
There was a very
shit.
serious tone for most of it. I mean, there were a couple of slapstick gore moments, but other than that, when they arrive there, it's pretty much still fairly serious.
Yeah. Because you're doing the origin stories, so it's people dying all over the place. Pretty bleak. But yeah, then as soon as they lit the zombie's breath on fire and worked out they could use him to power their truck, that's where it just all went schlocky as hell.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
Evil Dead.
It also reminded me of Brain Dead, Peter Jackson's, one of his first movies.
Oh, I've watched it. I don't remember it.
Yeah, there's a great scene with a lawnmower where he runs through an entire house of zombies with a lawnmower.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think after the 40-minute mark, it reached that level of schlocky over-the-topness.
Which I didn't think was necessarily a bad thing. Although it was a surprise. Like what I'd heard of this movie is that it was meant to be gory and gruesome and people were scared of it.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard there was any humour, and that's the first thing that occurs to me.
Yeah,
There's that undertone of Australian humour.
Yeah. I must say I'm a sucker for schlocky horror, and I think they've done a great job here.
Yeah.
And the way they've sort of molded it around, like you said, Australian humour. There's so many fucks and shit in there. And it's just the sort of thing an Aussie would do in that situation. Oh, fuck, there's a zombie in the freezer. Let's grab a beer.
Yeah, they reach around him and grab the beers out. Oh, God, that's good. I like the idea that they're the Australian spirit has already had to deal with so much that adding a piece of shit to the top of the pile isn't really going to upset it too much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It was just so classically Australian, the performances and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first 40 minutes very serious, and then it just goes ridiculous.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the plot from that point on?
Yeah, pretty much. I think we've already discussed there's spoilers in this, so let's go ahead and spoil the hell out of it.
Yeah. So this will be the spoilery of spoilerists.
Yep.
This is where we spoil things, people.
Yep. Get over it.
Yeah. So, yeah, what did you think of the petrol doesn't light on fire anymore, zombies' breath and blood is flammable?
I'm a big sci-fi and, a bit of a sci-fi nerd. And what gets me is that they bring it up and then don't really explain it.
Yeah.
And it has so many more ramifications than they intended, I believe.
Yeah.
If it's not flammable anymore, why isn't it flammable? What does that mean? Does that mean the beer they're drinking doesn't have alcohol in it anymore?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, because alcohol being flammable.
Yeah, and now the only resource is the zombie's breath.
Yeah.
Why is the zombie's breath flammable?
Yeah.
Matches still work.
Yeah. Well, see, the only reason I could figure that they would still work is because they're a solid, they're not actually a liquid, so maybe it's something to do with liquids and gases. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so they're saying that the virus is probably introduced by this meteor storm that happened.
Yeah. Which is a trope that's been around since, I believe, Return of the Living Dead. I think that was the first to invoke the... No, actually, it might have been Night of the Living Dead. I think there was a passing reference to a meteor shower in one of the Dead movies.
Yeah.
So it's a classic trope.
Yeah.
But
it seems...
It works.
And I like the way they wrap it around the idea of Wyrmwood.
Yes.
Which was this
the
Revelations Bible reference.
Yes.
So the idea that the people that are killed in the last days go to heaven or hell, and people left on earth are tested.
Yes. Purgatory on earth, if you like.
Yeah. So this is their testing.
Yeah.
It was an interesting take on it, yeah.
It was. But it definitely left a lot open at the end, didn't it? Like, it didn't explain where that truck came from, who that guy was, why he had a paramilitary with him, and why it was...
Where was he when he wasn't in that room?
Yeah.
Falling off the back of the truck or something?
Yeah. And was the room not, like, shaking as they were tearing down the highway? Like, Australian roads aren't necessarily that great out in the bush. Yeah.
No, I think the idea is that she's distracted or something. Drugged up.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so what we're talking about is that the main heroine of the film is abducted and experimented on in the back of what seems to be a paramilitary vehicle.
Well, yes, and then obviously the reveal is that it's a vehicle right near the end. Up until then, you assume it's in some secret laboratory somewhere.
Yeah. Which then I don't understand the whole power base, where did this scientist come from?
That's what I mean, yeah. Where do the paramilitary guys come from?
Yeah.
But, it's the sort of thing in schlocky horror like this, you've just got to roll with it, Like,
I think they show you enough.
It.
They show you enough and they just want you to get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the performances of the characters, I think we've got a couple of short-lived characters that do all right. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. I like the bald guy. Did he get a name?
Chalky, I think it was.
Chalky, yeah. He was fun, and like I was saying earlier, his death when Benny, the Aboriginal guy, shoots him.
Yeah, what does he say? Quote it.
So Barry says, don't shoot, he's not a zombie. And Benny shoots him, obviously. And then Benny yells out, is he all right? Barry's like, no, I think he's dead, mate. Benny runs up and says, oh, his head's all fucked.
Oh, shit.
And from then on, I was in love with Benny. He was a really cool character.
Yeah. I thought he was all right. That comic relief is something that you've sort of got to want in the movie. If you want it to be serious, that stuff seems to get in the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially if it's not well acted. I thought this was okay. He was a little bit stilted in some of his deliveries, but generally it's quite good, and it was just on par with what the rest of the movie was about.
Yeah. It's always tough to judge performances in a movie like this, because they're not doing it. They're not playing it straight. You know, there's a level of sort of absurdity to everything they're doing. So the performances sort of reflect that.
Yeah, but just to skip ahead to a bit of Carlos's review that I went through before. Yep, he points out that they do a lot of exposition. The Benny and what's the guy?
Barry.
No, the one that
Frank.
the older bloke.
Frank
does a lot of exposition, and it's a little bit awkward.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know. That bit I sort of let slide, but I do know what he's talking about.
Yeah. I sort of like that pacing though. You know, like I said, the first 40 minutes or so was quite serious. They played it straight. But it built up at a good pace, you know, so it was sort of like the last half hour or so of the movie that was balls out action from start to finish, you know, and before that you had your moments of sullen sort of solitude when they're trapped in the van, in the truck surrounded by zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind that. I thought it built up well.
I really like the special effects they used for her mind control.
Oh, yeah. That was very cool.
I like that film effect they were doing, it's sort of like throbbing of the camera.
Yeah. It reminds me of something else. Maybe The Matrix?
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know.
I tie it a lot to the Resident Evil movies as well.
Oh, okay.
Like in terms of the storyline, the fact that there's all of a sudden this psychic link, that kind of thing just made me just hark back to that sort of movie.
Yeah. And I liked that sort of came out of left field too, huh?
Yeah.
Like you didn't really see it coming. It was just all of a sudden she starts getting these tinglings, and then yeah.
And they did it quite fast, but I thought they did it believably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I say believable, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't. Oh, look, I can control zombies, and she did the exposition out loud.
Yeah, right.
It was enough to say, you can see her playing with it, the idea that it's going to work. She can feel
it starts
something.
Off with the fingers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She starts moving the fingers, and the zombie follows
She
along.
puts it together straight away, and it works really well. The camera work in that scene must have been really good because I was glued to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That scene I really liked.
See, I think those scenes in what turned out eventually to be the van, the truck, they're a good counterpoint to the action that was going on with Barry and Benny and Frank as well. So, you know, I think they appeared often enough just to break up the action a little bit, you know, give you some breathing room.
You didn't have to go and follow them for the boring parts of their journey.
Exactly.
You could just skip backwards and forwards. It was quite convenient for that.
Yeah, that's
it allowed time to pass for her.
Yeah.
Because she was supposed to receive 5 separate injections or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And you only actually saw, one or 2 or 3?
2.
2, yeah. So there was definitely some that were missed because the crazy scientist guy was ready to kill her at the end.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. It was very strange where that all came from, but, you know, it plays a good movie in the end.
That's it, yeah. It fits the story, yeah. So what did you think of the special effects?
Yeah, I thought you were going to get back to that. Yeah. I thought they were quite good. Like, they shy away from just doing gratuitous violence. They only show bits that are really worthwhile. Yeah. There's a bit when he's driving away with his, Barry is driving away with his wife and daughter, and they're just going along in the Corolla going bang, bang, bang.
Yeah,
bang, bang.
That was creepy, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they didn't pay any attention to it. They were just driving through a crowd.
It. Yeah.
They didn't need to show anything. It was just the sound and the blank stare straight ahead. Yeah,
that was a really good moment, actually. Yeah. So I think there was a few bullet shots and stuff on the zombies. You could tell they were digital effects.
Yeah.
But I think they were of a high enough level that they weren't too bad. You know, you didn't go, that looks horrible. But at the same time, I sort of sat there and went, that's obviously a digital effect. Yeah. You could tell whether when they use practical and when they use digital.
Yeah. Again, it brings me back to the way I see Resident Evil. They've gone up and down in budget. I think it's been continuously down, but they've had improvements in special effects, but you can often see where they haven't quite composited it properly or something.
Right, yeah.
And you can see something about it doesn't seem right.
Yeah. And I think you're very right in pointing out that it is a budgetary thing. You know, you can do simple, effective-looking special effects quite cheaply and quite quickly.
And I think they've recovered from that by just only using it where they need to. If they had to do it for every scene in every shot, they would have blown their budget way earlier and they would have had to have done much worse.
That's it, yeah. It wasn't gratuitous.
No, which is, I thought that's where it was going to go when we first started. Right. But, you know, the blood scenes that he gets sort of covered in the beginning, I thought, oh, geez, this is going to be a bad one.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, the comedy sort of saves it. And you're able to sort of just put up with the gruesomeness and keep going.
Yeah, that's it.
So, notable deaths. This is a horror movie. The funniest deaths.
Yeah. Well, obviously the bald guy with the moustache, the guy that Benny accidentally kills when he first meets Barry, that was quite good.
That was good. I'm surprised they didn't use the harpoon a second time.
Ah, right. Okay.
I
Yeah.
was waiting for that.
Very good point. Yeah.
So they only use it to get another fuel source.
Yeah.
Do you want to
that's
stop
it.
for petrol?
Yes.
That was excellent.
That was another classic Aussieism. Huh?
Yeah, and it's very obvious because they say petrol.
Yeah.
What else is good?
So what did you think of the climax? That scene where they're in the forest
Yep.
and it's all or nothing. Barry wanted to light the car on fire and
He
kill
wanted
them
to kill
all.
everybody.
Yeah. I love that little exchange there between Barry and Benny.
Yeah.
Benny's like, I'll just get the zombie to bite me, and then I got a boomerang on here and all this.
And
Barry's
he's like, this is the most convoluted fucking plan. No, it's never going to work. And so Benny just goes, no, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So throws away the matches, distracts Barry, and then goes ahead with his plan and carries it out perfectly.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. That scene where he's sort of fighting that lieutenant or whatever.
Oh, yeah. The final fight.
I was a bit meatheady to me. I don't
that's
know.
fair. That's fair, I think.
To me, it seemed too American.
Final showdown sort of thing.
Yeah, mano a mano.
Yeah.
And it just seemed a little bit odd.
Yeah.
I questioned things just for a second.
Right. Yeah.
And then went, oh, it's action. Shut up. Yeah. But I did.
I think the problem there was they didn't establish who the bad guy was.
No.
Like
and
that dude who was
their
fighting.
their masks were fogged up the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
They did a pause on his face when he did the reveal. And I'm like, am I supposed to know this
I
guy?
recognized him earlier. Yeah. Cool. Because even in the scene where they took Brooke, they had the mask on the whole time there either. So there was no sort of real significance to any of the masked characters.
Don't understand. Who was the actor? Let me just have a quick look. So the actor for...
who played the captain.
Captain, sorry, not lieutenant, captain.
Luke McKenzie.
Yeah. So he's been in some other stuff, I'm sure, that I've recognised him from something.
Yeah. There was a couple of actors actually I saw. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm sure I've seen
Maybe
him in
not.
something local. Chalker was the bald guy that Benny shot.
Yeah.
Rather unceremoniously in the head. So, yeah, I take your point with that. Yeah, that final fight. I feel like that could have been the point where Brooke got back up and, unleashed the zombies. There was no need to have a fist
fight
fist
scene.
fight.
Yeah, it was good. It was well done. It was believable. It was well acted, I guess, but I didn't think it fit the movie as such.
Yeah, exactly. It stands out in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All of a
maybe that's
sudden-
something that would happen, but I don't know. Like the way that the fights went down in, oh God, was that apocalypse movie we watched? These Final Hours.
Oh, okay. I still haven't seen that.
The way the fights went down in that was a bit more of that. We've got a disagreement. One punch, it's either over or you've been punched.
Right.
That was it. It was an instantaneous king hit or nothing.
Yeah.
This was like they were both seasoned brawlers, which they're not.
No, that's true.
maybe the captain was, but you wouldn't think Barry would be.
No, not necessarily. He's just a mechanic, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because, I could understand the captain's motivation at that point. He knew he was going to become a zombie anyway. So he's like, well, hell, we may as well have some fun.
Yeah, but I didn't see that as fun. Like he was...
Well, or...
He didn't look like he was
prove a
enjoying
point.
it. He just looked like it was his duty to have a fist fight. And it just seemed really weird.
Yeah, true. When he could have just left Barry handcuffed and turned into a zombie and eaten his head.
Yeah.
That would have been much
Just
more...
handcuff him to himself and go,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
as soon as I go, you're gone.
Yeah, surprise, motherfucker.
Yeah.
But yeah, so aside from that, yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
Oh, no, absolutely. I did enjoy the whole movie. It was quite a lot better than I thought it was going to be. From what I was told by other people, it was this very Aussie thing, and it was super, super gory.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, maybe it's not exactly what I want to be watching in the afternoon. But it was very entertaining.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
You got to see a little bit of that Australian humour and it played out well. It was a good combination of like other movies, other inspirations.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the idea of the outback zombie apocalypse is not something I think we've seen very much. Like, a lot of people, when this came out, compared it to sort of Mad Max meets Dawn of the Dead.
I can see some of the visuals.
Yeah.
Mad Max-esque.
Yeah.
And then...
especially their armor and stuff.
Yeah, the armor, the tracking shots over the road, just following the white line down the center.
Yeah. No, and the truck.
And the
they
truck.
armored up.
They armored the truck.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen how they were generating their electricity to run the truck.
Yeah.
Because they had those big tubes. It would have been nice just grab a little bit of science
Yeah, true.
out of that.
And why did they have Tesla coils on the roof?
Yeah. And where was the MRI machine? Like, I don't understand how that guy had
Yeah.
an MRI of someone's head. Do you know how hard it is to run one of those?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and let alone the space. There's no way they would have fitted in that truck. Oh, and the metal all around it, that would have just imploded the truck if they tried to use it.
That was the first truck.
Yeah.
That MRI is all they recovered.
They learnt their lesson after the first.
Yeah. Oh, let's not do that one again.
Yeah. I was a bit disappointed that there wasn't more of a payoff with all that sort of stuff. You know, with the scientists, like I said, we were saying earlier, you know, there's this paramilitary there. They're well equipped. They've got a scientist and a van and stuff, but you never found out why.
Yeah.
Like that all came
Yeah, what I
about.
didn't understand was the dynamic between the two of them. The scientist
Right.
was arrogant and was in control.
Yeah, exactly.
And then his underlings were talking about a bigger plan that you don't understand.
Yeah, and it's all about the fate of the human race and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, where's the rest of them?
Yeah.
You never hear about them.
No, that's it.
That was it.
I mean, unless they did that deliberately, they're gunning for a sequel or a trilogy.
If it's any bigger, I don't see how it's going to work in the same format.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
What often happens when a franchise sort of carries on,
Yeah.
they've had the initial idea, but they hadn't thought out the sequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can have the sequels being a bit lame because the way that actually developed the story was only ever going to work for that first movie.
Right, yeah. The Matrix comes to mind.
It does. That was the one exactly I was thinking of.
Yeah.
They tried to expand the storyline and make it a lot more like a bigger event and make it more meaningful
Yeah.
when they'd already really covered it all.
Well, that's it, yeah. And it was such a shame with that, too, because there were so many cool ideas about, like, prequels and, you know, the story of what happened leading up to the events of The Matrix.
Animatrix was fantastic.
Yeah, that was great. There was some really choice shorts in that.
Yeah. This one I think has borrowed quite I was talking about Wyrmwood again.
Yep.
Has borrowed quite heavily from other movies so that there's a little bit of assumptions, there's a little bit of preconceived ideas about what certain things mean.
Yeah,
Like
okay,
everyone
yeah.
from the word go was aiming for heads.
Yeah, right.
They didn't have to explain that one.
Yeah.
They showed a couple of body shots and realised didn't do anything and they're onto the head thing straight away.
Yeah. So they didn't labour that point at all.
No.
So I never actually worked out. I meant to take note of it, but they weren't classical Romero zombies, were they? They weren't incredibly slow moving. It seemed like they were moving at the pace of a human being with rigor mortis.
Yeah, so Benny was out walking one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just
He
sort
was
of strolling.
keeping pace, yeah.
And the zombie was following at that pace.
Yeah,
and then we
that's
find out
right.
later that at night they move faster.
Yeah, because they saved the gas for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a good visual, wasn't it? Benny
Yeah.
just trudging through the bush.
He's like, oh, I can't shoot him, but I just have to leave him.
Yeah,
He's
and then I
not
shot his
fucking
knee
staying.
out. Yeah. He finally shot his knee out and then could
and
get
he
away.
says, I should have killed him. I don't. For me,
Yeah.
I don't know where that they inserted that scene right at the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And where they're having a big discussion about what we did today.
Yep.
They never actually show where in the movie that conversation happens.
I think it was about the point where they were eating. They were sitting down to have the food right before they came up with the idea to go get. Right before they realized that the zombie breath caught fire.
Yeah, but they don't labour it too much.
They didn't
don't actually
explicitly lay it out. No.
Yeah, they didn't show the other people have their backstories. They
Yeah.
alluded to something in the Frank's past. Was it Frank?
Yeah. Frank was the older guy.
The older guy?
Yeah.
That his
with
son
his
died.
son. Yeah.
But they don't have their journey to that day spelled out for us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They just sort of chopped that scene out, stuck it at the front, and then never really explained where it came from.
I guess, it was really just a framing device, wasn't it? To sort of bring you up to speed to where they were and what they were doing.
Yeah. I was just sort of waiting for that callback. So, yeah, in terms of what they've managed to do with this movie, I think it was well worth paying for.
Yep.
And it's probably one of those ones that I might actually go and buy because it can be rewatched.
Yeah.
I would definitely buy it if there was a Wyrmwood 2, and then I'd have both of them. And
Yeah.
I do like horror movies though.
Yeah.
I'm already a sucker
same.
for it.
And can I say it's great to see that Aussies can make like schlocky horror movies like this that are on par with stuff that comes out of Hollywood.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I thought it was really well polished, you know. You could tell they shot it on digital film. There was a few special effects and stuff that were a bit questionable, but aside from that, it stands up against
There was
a lot of the other
there was
fare
a
out
few
there.
things that seemed original to me.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
The one that I did like the most was that shimmer effect when she was mind controlling a zombie.
Yeah. And I like that idea, actually. They brought it back around to the original myth of the zombie. You know, the original myth was you had a voodoo master who took control of the dead. So before the cinematic and reimagining of the zombie, it was always, a Haitian voodoo priest who would control an army. So they're sort of bringing it back to the original tropes, which I thought was clever. Yeah. It clicked with me as soon as she started taking control. I was like, the old
I didn't
Haitians.
realise that until you brought it up, so it's actually quite good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I want to see more.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to see a sequel. So,
well, by the sounds of it, you know, from the comments the director and the producer made after it came out, they're like, you need to pay for this, otherwise we can't make more. It obviously sounds like they're gunning for more.
Yeah, maybe I'll go and get the Blu-ray so that I can see outtakes and things as well and support them.
Good point, yeah.
Everyone do the same.
Yeah,
I want to see a sequel.
Yep. And if it doesn't come to cinemas, we'll jump on Tug and we'll make sure we get a screening.
That is something that I really want to explore a bit.
Yeah,
being able to
definitely
choose an independent and say, we want to see that in this cinema, and then try and get support for it.
Yeah, that's it. All right, well, mark our words, dear listeners. If they announce a Wyrmwood 2, or if these guys happen to do another horror movie, perhaps not zombie-based, we'll be gunning for them on Tug to get some screenings in Sydney at least.
I think that's something that we might be, I think we should talk about that more.
Yeah.
All right, so it's time to sum up, I think.
Yes.
What would you like to give this movie?
Well, I was thinking about it. I was teetering between 3.5 and 4. I'm going to say 3.5.
Yeah.
Just because it's a schlocky horror movie, you know, like I wouldn't hold it up as one of the greatest pieces of cinematic
exploration.
Exposition that's come out in the last year, last couple of years, but it was fun. You know, it was a somewhat original idea. It was great to see Aussie humor in a situation like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and despite what Carlos sort of brought up, I thought the pacing was really well done. Like I said, you know, the first 40 minutes, you don't even realize that they're going to go off the deep end and go over the top. So, I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. So I'm going to say 3.5 bananas.
Very good. I think I'm fairly similar. I'm going to give it 3.5 as well. Pretty much for the same reasons. I liked there was a little bit of lore that allowed you to think about where all these things came from. There's a little bit of intrigue. I would have liked a bit more, but generally that's not too big a criticism. The acting was fairly good. Some of the script writing, I do agree with Carlos, the exposition was a little bit
janky.
Yeah, just it was obvious. It was see-through. That's what they were doing. So that a little bit of problems with the way the captain just took onto his macho thing. That just seemed out of nowhere, and it was.
I agree there. Yeah,
they could have done other things in that time that they spent, and they really should have introduced his character a bit more. I think he wasn't even there until the last scene.
I definitely didn't recognize him.
No, because he had the bars on his helmet.
Right, yeah.
He had the captain bars on his helmet.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't even around for the first couple of encounters. They alluded to him on the radio or something, but they never actually. Yeah. It seems strange to just go all of a sudden, he's the captain.
Yeah, and like you said, there was a big reveal.
And we're supposed to recognize him or something? I don't know.
He takes his helmet off. It's like, that just looks like a normal dude.
Yeah. He's got a weird scar around his eye. I don't know why. It's not on the actor. They put that little bit of makeup on him. No idea. Anyway, so I'm going to give it 3.5 bananas as well. Mm-hmm. It's quite gory. Fair warning. There's a lot of blood on screen, but they don't labour it too much. They go on a little bit of a splatter fest, but it's not too. You don't have to sit there and watch entrails dripping out of zombies, which I've seen in other movies.
Yeah.
Well worth watching. I'll just quickly touch on what Carlos had actually said in his review.
Oh, yes. Is there anything else we missed?
He's touched on things like These Final Hours and Mad Max Fury Road as being showing that Australian cinema is sort of picking up. We thoroughly enjoyed both those movies, and I think what Carlos has said here, it's not on the same level, but it's showing progress that this looks like independent is getting some amazing stories and well executed, I think.
Yeah, I did want to say that. Yeah, it's just another one to add to the list that demonstrates, we can do good cinema in Australia, and it's not world cinema. It's not localized cinema. It's cinema for a wide Western audience.
Yeah,
it's accessible.
Yeah, as long as you got, as long as you're not like my fiance was doing before I finished the movie, trying to eat dinner. It was easy to watch.
Yeah. Well, there's a tip for you. Probably don't eat anything while you're watching it.
Yeah, don't have steak tartare or something.
Yeah.
So Carlos mentions again throwing humor in the mix, and he did quite like that. There's the influences of Grindhouse. Yep, I think we sort of alluded to its many influences, and
the schlock
and the Australian humour.
Yes.
He loved that as well. I think the problems that he had were a bit of the exposition. He really enjoyed Barry's introduction. The shotgun to the head explosion.
Oh, his head's fucked.
And then again, he's had the same science questions that I had,
right?
About using the zombies as fuel, and there's a few things that are unanswered. Some of the characters are a little strange, and he thinks that's from like the Grindhouse motif. You never really know what people are thinking. Some of them act a little weird. Like the doctor, you don't quite sure of his motivations. Like he just seems like a sadist that sort of saw his opportunity.
Yeah,
he seems to be really enjoying punishing the crap out of people and zombies alike. I think Carlos.
So did he give us a rating?
He did. He left us with his final rating. I think that's the last thing he winds up with. He just wanted a little bit more time on her powers, and it would have been a much smoother run home to the end of the film. And I agree with that too.
Yeah. Well, like we were saying, maybe they could have dropped out that final fisticuffs and made it all about her powers, like a big climactic sort of thing there.
Yeah. All right. So in the end, Carlos's banana score was 2.5.
2.5.
So he's been a little harsher than us. I think the way he was speaking about it before, he just wanted a little bit more out of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I think we were quite pleasantly surprised. I didn't really have any preconceived ideas when I went into this. All right, so that's our review of Wyrmwood. 3.5, 3.5, and 2.5 bananas.
Yep.
So get out there and support Wyrmwood.
Damn straight.
Watch it legally or buy the disc or whatever you can. I want to see a Wyrmwood too. Stay tuned for the end of the credits to find out what our Who Am I For this week was. That's it for today. See us.
See ya.
All right, you've hung on till the end of the credits to find out what this week's movie, Who Am I, was. It is Aliens, starring Sigourney Weaver. There's Paul Reiser as the evil asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Biehn as Corporal Hicks. Carrie Henn as a little girl, Newt, with one of my favourite lines in the whole movie. They mostly come out at night. Yeah. Mostly. Me and my mates would laugh about that for hours.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just so... Out of nowhere, she just said this little bit of they mostly come out at night. The whole the whole fucking planet's in constant nighttime. I don't think we see day.
That's a good point.
She's screwed. They're always out. Oh.
And then they unceremoniously killed her off screen before Alien 3 started.
Yeah, that's pretty mean.
3 was plagued with problems from day 0, I think.
Yeah.
There was like 3 different versions of the script, and it was all over the place.
That's a mess in itself.
Yeah.
We should probably go through the Alien movies in another review.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Here's a bit of trivia for you, though. Alien 3, the way Fincher finally shot and released it was meant to be a commentary on the AIDS epidemic in the US.
Yeah, I heard something about that. And it was sort of, I believe, I'm having a guess here from what I remember.
Yeah.
I think it was probably another script first, and they just rewrote it and injected it into Alien.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started off with something completely different.
It feels really wrong. It was more like one of the, what was the name of those other movies?
Oh, those ones.
Fortress.
Oh,
it felt like Fortress and those sort of, the horror of being locked up in the future movies. Yeah. Anyway, that was the movie Aliens was this week's Who Am I?
That's right, it was.
All right. See you next time. Yeah,
All right.
support independent film.
Yeah.
Go and see Aliens. All right. See you next time.
See ya.
This podcast is recorded and produced by Theatre Gorillas, edited by Dan Clark.